here in New York, live from the CNN Financial News headquarters.
It is beautiful outside, perfect September day with lots of sunshine.
Other than that, it's kind of quiet around the country. We like quiet, but it's quiet. It's too quiet.
Katie, I don't want to alarm anybody right now, but apparently there was an explosion of some kind here at the Pentagon.
The plane crash that has gone down in Somerset County is believed to be related to the other attacks on America.
One would have to assume that there is no chance that anybody can be found alive if you would just look at the crater down there.
We were faced with enormous challenges and grief and bereavement, and we overcame all of that. And we continued to fight fires. We fought fires on September 12, 2001. We fought fires on September 11, 2001. Firemen were able to function under those conditions and still think of their fellow man throughout the day, knowing that they were in grave danger. I was never so proud to be a fireman as I was that day.
We're used to tragedy, right? We're firefighters, we're fire officers. This is what we do. When someone picks up the phone and dials 911, they can't handle the situation in front of them. They leave that to us. And on this day, on that day, the whole world called on us. And we answered. Tens of thousands of tons of debris came down with such force, 110 stories. So the force that impacted the ground was just beyond tremendous. I said there's almost zero voice. Says the chances of anybody being alive here are small. My lieutenant and myself got up in the basket. We were the first ones on top of the South Tower. And I was on the radio with the operator, Tom, boom down, all right, okay, all right, lower me down, 5 more feet, 6 more feet, 8 more feet, like, okay, stop. Well, as I get out of the basket, you could see the heat generating out of the whole pile. At the time, there was a fireman at 10 and 10 had binoculars, and he told me when we were going up there, there's a helmet, it's down about 20 feet, so I see the helmet. All right, so I crawl down, and it's upside down, and then about, I'd say about 18 inches or so from the helmet was a skull. And then next to the skull was, some vertebrae. And I went, oh my God, So let me pick the helmet up and turn it around, and my heart stopped. It was a respiratory helmet. So I went, oh man. That was my toughest.
When I would go down the bridge at night into the pit to rake and visit the firefighters and anyone who was there, as I was going down, it was like, how do I make sense out of this? And I came to understand that I was descending into hell and seeing the face of God on the people who were there in the recovery operation.
We got through it. The department got through it amazingly. The resilience of the department with help from all around the country. When you're from New York, you never think you're going to need any help from anywhere. And people came from all around the country to help us, and we needed it.
There's countless stories of firefighters and fire officers saying goodbye to each other in the lobby and then going to work. And there's nothing more brave than that.
I hear a woman yell, hey, I'm telling you. It startled me so much that the only thing I could say was, hey, back, and one of us says, I can't see you. And this lady starts clapping her hands. Her name was Sheila Moody, and I talked to her this morning. It was one of the blessings that happened that day.
On that day, 9/11/01, we really saw the worst in people, but the following days after that, it brought out the best in humanity that, I wish we could get back to that point because we've gotten away from it.
It was like a movie set. It was surreal. There were buses on fire, mail trucks on fire. There were fire trucks on there upside down and burning. And the thing that I remember most is how quiet it was.
You could see the famous facade picture where, I don't know how many stories it is, 8, 10 stories of just a portion of the facade sticking out of the ground. Everything was smoldering. It was such a large area that you couldn't wrap your mind around it.
I ended up being the chauffeur of South Bronx working truck company, and the next morning I was detailed downtown to another truck company where they lost the whole company. If I worked a day tour, they would say, hey, we're hopping on a train, we're going downtown, I have a friend that's working at the trade center, we can sneak in and help tonight, do you want to go down with us? Of course I did. Maybe we bucked a couple little rules and regulations. We got in the back door and we went to do our job looking for bodies and firefighters and civilians.
I mean, the bonds that we made and the bonds that we created there, working on the pile together, are inseparable. It's hard to put into words the feelings and the emotions that I have for those guys. The way that they stepped up in different roles, not only in the firehouse afterwards, but that day, in those days and weeks that followed, 2 of our members lost their brothers. One of our members lost their father. It affected all of us deeply, but yet we were driven to the mission, which was to save lives and property. That's what we do. And while we were there, that was our focus, regardless of what else was to transpire.
My dad was a World War II bomber pilot and flew 65 missions in a B-26. When I got done, he said to me, this is your war, this is your combat.
We were just looking for hope, you know, hopefully we can get somebody. It's really hard to explain, it really is.
So you want to talk about resiliency? Look at families that lost their father in 9/11, and we have
those things where it's like, well, there's, you know, we're standing in some pretty big shoes right now.
I want people to remember the sacrifices of not only the firefighters, the police officers, the EMTs and paramedics that lost their lives that day, but almost 3,000 civilians that were killed, and all they did that day was go to work.
I think they can knock us down, but they can't stop us from continuing to be the best fire department in the world.
We go in to save people. We're doing that. We're going in, whether you like it or not. And that's our job, and that's what we're going to do. And it should never change.
Ladies and gentlemen of the South Carolina Firefighters Association, please stand for the presentation of our colors.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we gather today with grateful hearts as members and friends of the South Carolina State Firefighters Association. We thank you for the opportunity to come together in fellowship, learning, and in service. Lord, we are mindful of the calling placed upon the men and women who serve in the fire service. We thank you for their courage, their dedication, and their willingness to answer the call at any hour and day or night. Bless the firefighters, the officers, the instructors, the chaplains, and the families represented here today. Grant wisdom to our leaders as they guide this association to make decisions that affect communities across our state. Strengthen our commitment and our excellence and our integrity in our service. May the knowledge shared during this gathering improve our ability to protect lives, preserve property, and to care for those in need. Remember those firefighters who have gone before us, especially those who have made the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty. May their legacy inspire us to serve and honor with compassion. Protect our first responders as they face dangers seen, unseen. Give them courage in moments of uncertainty, strength in times of exhaustion, and peace in the midst of difficult circumstances. As we begin these opening ceremonies, may all of you that is said and done bring honor to you and the benefits of the citizens of this privilege to serve. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Okay, ready. All times, dawning of the day. By the center. Right, quick, march.
You may be seated. Thank you, Chaplain Jenkins, Chief Littleton, and Honor Guard for that great introduction to get us kicked off for an awesome conference. I would like to officially call the 2026 Fire Rescue Conference and Business Meeting to order. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Fire Rescue Conference here in Myrtle Beach. On behalf of the South Carolina State Firefighters Association, our executive committee, staff, conference committee, and all of the others involved, thank you for being here today, and thank you for your continued dedication to the fire service across our great state. It was great to see everyone last night at the Beach Bash, also yesterday during the day at the golf tournament. Great turnout. I hope all of you enjoyed that. Thanks to the insurance services for the Beach Bash last night and their partners for sponsoring that. This year's conference carries special meaning as we recognize two important milestones in our nation's history. We reflect on the 25th anniversary of the September 11th attacks, a day that forever changed our country and forever changed the fire service as we see it today. We also celebrate the 250th anniversary of the United States of America. 250 years of freedom, resilience, service, and sacrifice. As firefighters, we are proud to be part of that legacy of public service and proud to continue protecting our communities across this great nation. Thank you again to everyone who has contributed to get us here today, our association staff, instructors, exhibitors, sponsors, volunteers, and attendees. This would not be possible without all of you. Your hard work and support are what make this event successful year after year. Again, Welcome to Myrtle Beach. Let's have a great week together. I'd like to invite host Fire Chief, Chief Tom Guire, to the stage. Myrtle Beach has always been a great partner with us. Chief Guire also chairs our conference committee, so I greatly appreciate all of his dedicated support.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, here we are again. On behalf of the men and women of the Myrtle Beach Fire Department, it is my honor to welcome you to Fire Rescue 2026. Whether you've traveled across the state or simply across the waterway, welcome. We are truly happy that you are here. We're extremely proud, and we always have been proud and humbled to serve as the host city, the host fire department for this event. This event truly unifies the South Carolina Fire Service. If you look around, you see firefighters, you see chiefs, you see instructors, you see public safety leaders, you see vendors, you see families, you see friends. We all come from our own departments, we all wear our own patch, our own logo, but at the end of the day, we know that we're all part of something bigger, and we know that we're all dedicated to that mission of the fire service. Like the president just said, it pretty much takes a village to pull off an event like this. And I too would like to thank the Firefighter Association staff who does much of the heavy lifting, President Womack, his executive committee, the volunteers, sponsors, vendors, staff of the Myrtle Beach Convention Center, and anyone else who's worked behind the scenes to pull this event off. And now it is my privilege to introduce someone who's been a supporter and a valued partner to our fire department. Please welcome the mayor of Myrtle Beach, the Honorable Mark Crua.
Welcome to Myrtle Beach. We are thrilled that this conference is back in Myrtle Beach. I understand that there are about 6,000 attendees who will be here over the weekend, so that's outstanding. So on behalf of the city of Myrtle Beach, our council, our staff, certainly our Myrtle Beach Fire Department, and of course the staff here at the Myrtle Beach Convention Center, welcome and thank you for choosing Myrtle Beach. I've been associated with the city now for roughly 27 years. This role is somewhat new for me, but I've watched the Myrtle Beach Fire Department grow. I worked in the upstate for a while as well, and have had Thanksgiving dinner at one fire station at least, and have learned early on that if you get invited to eat a meal at a fire station, you say yes, because the food will invariably be outstanding. So I've enjoyed my time in fire stations. I've also put together sort of a top 10 list of unusual media questions that I've received through the last 3 decades or so. And one of those top 10 questions has to do with the fire department. Myrtle Beach is kind of a training market for young television reporters. They start here and move on to greater things in other markets, including Greenville-Spartanburg, where I worked a long time ago. But one of the reporters called and said, "Hey, just wondering, why don't fire trucks patrol for fires like police cars patrol for crime?" I swear that was a real question, and it resulted in about a 5-minute conversation to explain why that's not exactly practical at the end of the day. So at least one person was educated along those lines. Well, the fire department has certainly come a long ways since bucket brigades and Benjamin Franklin. I knew that Ben Franklin had started the first volunteer fire department. I don't know that I realized that Ben Franklin also started the first fire insurance company. Not sure about what that's not a conflict of interest at the end of the day, to do the fire department and the insurance company. And then watching the September 11th retrospective documentary reminded me that in this room, in the months after September 11th, the Myrtle Beach community welcomed members of the New York Police Department and the FDNY here for free vacations for about 16 or 18 months in the aftermath of the September 11th terrorist attacks. We realized the long, hard hours that the FDNY, Ports Authority, New York Police Department were all putting together, and the community, the city of Myrtle Beach, the other cities along the Grand Strand, the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber of Commerce and Hospitality Association, and our hotel industry all pulled together and offered free vacations for families of the FDNY and NYPD. And that actually started a 10-year relationship with the FDNY retirees who came here and played an annual golf tournament for the next 10 years. And at the 10-year anniversary, they presented us with a steel beam from one of the World Trade Center towers. That steel beam is proudly on display at Warburg Park at the Market Common. So again, on behalf of the city of Myrtle Beach, we're thrilled that you are here today. We hope that you enjoy all that Myrtle Beach has to offer. The convention center is centrally located so that you can get to the beach, you can get to Broadway at the beach, you can eat at our lovely restaurants and shop at our great places and enjoy the golf courses as well. I'm not a golfer. Top golf is my speed at the end of the day. But again, thank you on behalf of the city for being here. We greatly appreciate your attendance. Hope you enjoy the conference. Thank you.
The South Carolina Firefighters Hall of Fame Award recognizes members which are known as trailblazers and are outstanding for their contributions to South Carolina's fire service. Ensuring the legacy of these individuals is important in preserving the association's and the state's history. Those who receive the honor have left a clear mark on the state's fire service and are recognizable by their peers at the state or regional level for their commitment and contributions. These persons have contributed endless hours, ideas, and implementations, and some ultimately their lives, in making South Carolina a better place to live. Individuals who receive the Hall of Fame Award are inducted into the South Carolina State Firefighters Association's Hall of Fame.
Stephen Brockway dedicated 41 years to the fire service, beginning as a volunteer firefighter while still in high school. Throughout his career, Steve served as a firefighter, engineer, dispatcher, instructor, and fire commissioner. He played a key role in developing Greenville County's E911 system and spent years teaching future firefighters through the South Carolina Fire Academy. Steve's passion for service and helping others never slowed down.
Please welcome to the stage the Brockway family.
Townsend devoted his life to serving the Berkeley County community with courage, leadership, and compassion. As Deputy Fire Chief with Moncks Corner Rural Fire Department, he became a trusted leader and steady presence during moments of crisis. Even on his final day, Jimmy continued answering calls to help others. His dedication to the fire service and the people around him leaves behind a lasting legacy.
Please welcome to the stage, representing the Townsend family,
Past President Randy A. Rant has dedicated decades of service to advancing the South Carolina Fire Service through leadership, mentorship, and unwavering commitment. Throughout his career, Randy has been a strong advocate for firefighters across the state, helping guide initiatives that strengthened departments, supported firefighters, and promoted the future of the fire service. His leadership and dedication continue to have a lasting impact on the South Carolina State Firefighters Association and the community he proudly serves.
Please welcome to the stage Randy Arant.
Mark Holbrook didn't just join the fire service, he was born into it. For 44 years with Gant District Fire Department, Mark dedicated his life to protecting his community and mentoring the next generation. From hazardous materials response with the Greenville County Emergency Response Team to helping launch a youth EMS Explorer program, his influence has reached hundreds across South Carolina. Mark's leadership, dedication, and heart for service made him a strong example for future generations to come.
Please welcome to the stage the Holbrook family.
For 55 years, Michael Hollis has quietly answered the call to serve. From the fire department to the Fairfield County Rescue Squad, his dedication has never wavered. Whether serving as chaplain, dive team member, or simply stepping in wherever help was needed, Michael has spent a lifetime putting others first. Known as the silent volunteer, his impact speaks louder than words.
Please welcome to the stage David Michael Hollis.
Assistant Fire Chief Joey Roberts has dedicated more than 4 decades to the Charleston Fire Department and the fire service as a whole. Through leadership roles in operations, technical services, and statewide firefighter initiatives, Chief Roberts has guided departments through change while mentoring firefighters along the way. His commitment to professionalism, leadership, and service continues to shape the future of South Carolina's fire service.
Please welcome to the stage Joey Roberts.
Jimmy Walters has proudly served his department, county, and state through years of dedication and hard work. His efforts secured more than $750,000 in grant funding, helping provide critical equipment, radios, turnout gear, and safety resources for firefighters. Beyond his department, Jimmy also spent over 15 years volunteering with the South Carolina Fire Rescue Conference, helping support firefighters from across the state.
Please welcome to the stage Jimmy Walters.
Chief Richard Waring has spent more than 30 years leading with vision, integrity, and purpose. From earning an ISO Class 1 rating for Somerville Fire and Rescue to rebuilding and strengthening the department through times of challenge, his impact has been felt at every level of the fire service. Even in retirement, Chief Waring continues to advocate for public safety and the future of the fire service across South Carolina.
Please welcome to the stage Richard Waring.
Since beginning his fire service career in 1968, Don Wilkins dedicated his life to training and serving others. As a founding member of Oak Grove Fire Department and an instructor with the South Carolina Fire Academy, Don logged more than 30,000 teaching hours. His work developing firefighter curriculum and training programs has impacted generations of firefighters both in South Carolina and beyond.
Please welcome to the stage representing the Wilkins family.
No matter how hard we all work, we still must recognize the contributions of our citizens. They stand beside us and with us in accomplishing our goals. The Citizenship Award is bestowed upon an individual who may not be a member of the fire service, but has made significant contributions to the community or the fire service. Past recipients of the Citizenship Award were recognized for efforts in saving lives through education and helping further community risk reduction efforts.
For countless burn survivors and families across South Carolina, Stephanie Gelazada has become a source of hope, support, and compassion. In her role as coordinator of the South Carolina Burn Children's Fund, Stephanie dedicates countless hours to helping families navigate recovery, access care, and connect with others who understand their journey. From coordinating support programs to organizing events and managing donation efforts across the state, her work continues to make a lasting difference in the lives of burn-injured children and their families.
Please welcome to the stage Stephanie Gelazada.
As stewards in the public trust, we must engage in active public information. Some of this can be done through internal means, but we must partner with local media. The association's award for media shall be presented to a public media, television, radio, newspaper, magazine, or website for outstanding promotion of the fire service by presenting the fire service or departments in a positive manner. The action taken by the media should positively impact both the local fire department and or fire service and the public.
Danielle Cobb has made a powerful impact through her commitment to public safety and community education. Through her reporting with WSAV, Danielle has helped raise awareness about fire prevention, emergency preparedness, CPR, Stop the Bleed training, and community safety programs. Her storytelling has helped connect citizens with life-saving resources and strengthen the partnership between the fire service and the communities they serve.
Please welcome to the stage Danielle Cobb.
Amy Williamson has become a trusted voice for South Carolina's emergency response community. Through her work with South Carolina State Fire and the Palmetto Incident Support Team, Amy has helped tell the stories behind hurricanes, wildfires, winter storms, and emergency deployments across the state and beyond. Her leadership in public information, crisis communication, and multimedia storytelling highlights the dedication of firefighters, EMS, and emergency personnel while strengthening public trust and support for emergency response efforts statewide.
Please welcome to the stage Amy Williamson.
My next introduction it's always a fun one. I haven't seen him lately, but I know he's backstage, so just pay attention when he gets up here. I don't know if he gets hot or if he just wants to show off his chest hair, but I'd like to invite Chief Jamie Cajano to the stage to give you a foundation report.
If you don't have friends in this world, I don't know what you can do with enemies, but I tell you, Pierce, thank you so much. As your chairman of your South Carolina Firefighters Foundation, it is a privilege to be here today. I just want to give you a little history of what we've done in the past year. This past year, we've assisted 10 firefighters around the state with over $15,000 worth of funds that have been raised during a time of need, whether that be a sickness, whether that be a death, or whatever that might be. We were able to help those 10 firefighters throughout the state. We've also assisted 3 departments and 3 firefighters through fundraising campaigns to where they received over $25,000 from their local communities to be able to sustain whatever that might be they were going through at the time. Several years ago, we all know about the Burn Children's Fund. We all know about the CAN fundraiser. We always know what that goes on. For many years, that was a part of MUSC's foundation in the Charleston area. We partnered with the Burn Children's Fund, I believe it's been 3 years now, and have really done some great things. They've raised a lot of money, have gone through and able to help many burn children throughout the state, and we're proud to have them as as a partner in the foundation. Many of you in this room yesterday were able to come out and play golf with us, and I'm pleased to announce yesterday we raised over $45,000 in that golf tournament. And that could not be have happened without the men and women that are walking here in front of us. This group of individuals were sponsors this year of the golf tournament. And without them and the money they provided and the sponsorships, we couldn't have done what we've done. Blue Cross Blue Shield this year was our platinum sponsor. CCM Investments was a gold sponsor. Founders Federal Credit Union, a gold sponsor. McGriff Insurance, a gold sponsor. Provident Agency, a gold sponsor. South Carolina Firefighters Insurance Services, gold sponsor. Stewart Cooper Newell Architect Firm, gold sponsor. Safe Industries, a silver sponsor. The South Carolina Burn Children's Fund, a silver sponsor. Green Finley Cawley LLP, accounting firm, a bronze sponsor. Greenville County Fire Chiefs Association, a bronze sponsor. NAFCO, bronze sponsor. OSU Fire Protection Pubs, IFSTA, bronze sponsor. Reinhardt Fire, a bronze sponsor. First Citizens Bank this year was a T sponsor, and 1-800 Board Up and Barnwell Fire Department were both whole sponsors. I cannot tell them thank you. Please let's give them a round of applause for their help. Thank you, men and women. Thank you so much. At this time, it's always an exciting time of year that we are able to give out scholarships. Most of these scholarships are firefighters around the state or dependents of firefighters around the state. This year, we are honored to be able to give out 6 scholarships. We actually added 2 this year. Those are the Taylor A. Graham Scholarship was new this year, and also the Mutt Bozart Scholarship was new this year. So it's my privilege today that each one of these young men and women on the stage receive a $1,000 scholarship to help with their education. Kevin Hammond is receiving the Sam Carver Scholarship. Miss Ella Bryant is receiving the Mutt Bozart Scholarship. Jonathan, I'm going to butcher your name, Fuse, I believe is how you pronounce it, is receiving the Taylor A. Graham Scholarship. Walton Wooten is receiving the Carter Jones Scholarship. Wyatt Lothridge is receiving the Chief Jim Stone Scholarship. And Kinsley Raylan Alwyn is receiving the Lewis Barron Scholarship. Congratulations and good luck in your education. Thank y'all. We'd like to also announce this year just actually a couple years ago, finalized this partnership, and we have partnered, the Firefighters Foundation has partnered with Firehouse Coffee. Many of us know when we go to these conferences, you see Firehouse Coffee at FDIC, you see them around the world. They do a great job of providing coffee around the country. And we were able, some of our members were able to meet them at FDIC, and we formed a partnership. And so one of these things you should see on the screen, a QR code, and there'll actually be some QR codes around. If you can't do it right now, you can do it later. But anybody that's a firefighter, first responder in the state gets a 15% discount. And this group also helps us raise funds for the South Carolina Firefighters Foundation. This coming December, we're pleased to announce we're going to be their organization that any sales they have during the month of December will actually, a portion of that will come back to the South Carolina Firefighters Foundation. So we're happy to announce that. So when you're doing your Christmas shopping after December 1st, don't get into November because it'll help somebody else help us out. When you want to do some Christmas shopping, please go to their website, order some coffee, get it sent to whoever, family members, or whoever you need to buy a present for, and help out the South Carolina Firefighters Foundation. I need to get off because I'm going to get pulled off here with a long hook because I got a certain amount of time. But before I do that, I need to ask you to do one thing. Please stop by our silent auction. This year we've got some great auction items. Those items help us raise funds to be able to help and give back to members around the state. We've got a gun we'll be raffling off. We've got some turtle boxes. I'm back to the age where I didn't know what that was. I had to ask my daughter, and she explained to me the whole dynamics of this thing. So, but please come by. There's a lot of items for all ages, all types of people. Would love for you to help us raise money. That money 100% goes back to the foundation, and 100% will be used to help and benefit firefighters around the state. I can't thank you enough. I thank you every day for the support you give us. It wasn't for you and helping us raise funds, we could not then turn around and help you. But thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a great conference.
Back in 2005, your association leadership made a decision. They made a decision to move from Simpsonville to Columbia. Their goal was to be more centrally located to the members of South Carolina as a whole. As we moved to Columbia in 2006, the building opened up. It was dedicated in January. This building marked a significant chapter in our association history. It wasn't easy. There was a lot of concern. How are we going to pay for it? What kind of resources do we need? Everything was limited. Funding was limited. But together, they took a chance. The move was risky. But in doing so, the leadership believed that the opportunity would better serve South Carolina Fire Service, our membership. And it was worth it. And because they invested in the future, the South Carolina Fire Service has grown magnificent since then. And now we stand at another turning point. Once again, your leadership is choosing opportunity choosing to invest in firefighters across the state. You know, this time the vision's even bigger. We have bigger space, bigger opportunities, bigger impact, but we always have the same mission, 10 times bigger possibility. It's a place to preserve our history, to tell our story to our communities. It's also an opportunity to create a bigger space for us to train and lead from, and to prepare our next generation of firefighters. The next chapter is more than a building. It's about continuing to serve and work for those who took a leap of faith on this project. This building, it's a future worthy of the generations to come. Come along with us as we head to the future. Not a very good actor for that video, but the staff did about as good as they could do with somebody like me. I want to just real quick talk a little bit about what we're doing. We've recently sold 111 West Park. We purchased 151 West Park right around the corner. 5,700 square feet. We're leaving, and we're going to 50,000 square feet. The opportunities for this organization is just abundant. We have the ability now to service our members in many, many different ways that we've never had before. Cost savings of not having to rent space or catering costs that we can control. All of this is going to be done with this new facility. I encourage you through the week, come by our booth. You'll see pictures through the hallway with a sticker across the top that says, "Come see us at the booth." Come look at the new renderings. Come look at what we're doing and the direction that your executive committee is taking the organization. 121 years. We just had our birthday a couple weeks ago. And this is going to take us for deep into the future, as long as many in this room will be around to see. So we're excited about that. We want you to come in. We want you to take a look. We want you to see what we're looking at, what we're thinking about. We want to hear from you. Our architects are right beside of us. They want to hear some ideas, some things that you think that would be good representation of this organization. This is a building that's an opportunity to make our fire service better in this state. And we were excited to show you what we're planning and what we're projecting and what's going to take us forward. So come by and see us at the booth. If you see us in the hallway, catch us and say, tell us about this thing. Tell us what we're doing. There's opportunities for you to get involved in many different ways, and we would love to have your input and your participation. Lastly, I want to tell you about one other partnership that's coming to us now. We have made a decision and been working very hard with Founders Federal Credit Union. Founders is a growing credit union here in South Carolina. They're a home state credit union, and they are now going to be one of our preferred vendors and those folks that will help us as we provide better benefits for you, the membership. I would encourage you to go by their booth. They're in the exhibit hall. Talk with Trey and his team. Find out what the exciting things they have to offer to firefighters and their families, and we're looking forward to continuing that partnership with them. I'm around all week. If you need to talk and ask questions about the building, if you have some concerns or if you have some ideas, please come and see me. I'm carrying a notebook with me just to be able to make sure I capture as much as I can. We thank you for being here. We thank you for what you do, and we thank you for the support of this organization. Thank you.
Thank you both for those great updates. I'm proud to be able to be a small part of the progression of this association, trying to help benefit the members. Speaking of being proud, I'm excited to be able to announce and introduce our keynote speaker. Retired Battalion Chief John Salka is a 40-year plus veteran of the fire service. He served with the FDNY with pride for over 33 years. The last 15 years as a battalion chief in the 18th Battalion in the Bronx. Chief Salka received the FDIC Lifetime Achievement Award in 2022. He has presented and lectured at FDIC International, where he received the 2001 FDIC Training Achievement Award for his Get Out Alive Firefighter Survival Training Program. He is a New York State certified fire instructor and lectures nationally. He is the co-host for the podcast, The Command Post, which can be heard on fireengineering.com, and Old School, heard on iTunes. He is the author of the best-selling books, First In, Last Out Leadership Lessons from the New York Fire Department, The Engine Company, and the co-author of 5 Alarm Leadership, published by Fire Engineering Books and Videos. He has served as a volunteer firefighter throughout his entire fire service career. Please join me in welcoming Chief Salka to the stage.
I'm not sure if I need this box to stand on. What do you think? We'll go with it. That was some pretty interesting historical stuff about me, but the most interesting is I have 8 grandchildren. Five of them have been with me off and on here for the past 2 weeks. I still got sand in my shorts right now. I always like to start every presentation with a thank you. First, thank the organization, South Carolina Firefighter Association, for having me here. I've been here on and off for a bunch of years, did some educational presentations, and always had a wonderful time here. So thank you to them. Thank you to all of you folks for coming out. I almost said this morning, but this morning's a long time ago already. We've been here for 2 weeks, my family and I. And I like to also start with asking anybody who is or was a veteran or in the military, please stand right now. There we go. A lot of crazy stuff going on in the world, and those are the people that keep us comfortable here doing what we like doing. So thank you. We, collectively, all of us, firefighters, first responders, EMTs, EMS, police officers, first responders as a group, we are some of the luckiest people in the world. I haven't realized that any time recently. I realized it right off the bat when I joined the volunteers many years ago, actually almost 50 years ago, 1976. Who was alive in 1976? That's when I joined the fire department. So I got almost 50 years under my belt, which is almost enough, to tell you the truth, now that I'm close to 50. But we really are the luckiest people in the world, and obviously we got to realize that because we live in America. We're coming up, as one of the previous speakers here mentioned, the 250th anniversary of America. My 50th high school reunion is coming up. My graduation year was on the 200th anniversary of America. Now we got the 250th coming up. And on top of being just real lucky Americans, like everybody else in the country is, we're also firefighters. And that little nugget, that little addition, that little plus, over and above what everybody else has, not like it's a contest or anything, but I got to tell you, we win. That is fantastic. I saw a piece of the presentation that was up before that the FDIC created about 9/11. 25 years. 25 years since 9/11. Who was alive that day? Who was alive on 9/11? Raise your hand. Who remembers it? Now, some people were alive, but they were in 3rd grade, They may not remember it. I was there. Actually, I live upstate New York, up in a log house in the middle of the woods. It's a beautiful place. I've been there forever, and I'm going to die there. No, I'm not moving to South Carolina. But I was bringing my son Brian, who now lives down here. He's a firefighter down in the southern end of this state. And I was bringing him out to the school bus that morning, dropped him off. And usually I turn the car around, went back up to the house. But instead, I told the driver I needed to get out on the road. She let me go. I had to get something looked at in my vehicle. And that's what I did. I drove down. By the time I got into town, my Nextel phone. Who remembers them Nextel Direct Connect telephones? Who remembers them? Boy, did I love that phone. I missed it. I thought that was the greatest piece of technology in the world when I was using it. Now, when the guy in the restaurant table next to me was using it, I didn't like it at all. You know, you had all these people talking on them direct connects out in the public. You heard the whole conversation, like, really, you and your wife are arguing over that? You know, and but anyway, I got a bunch of direct connect calls from a bunch of my peers and friends and colleagues saying, "Oh, a plane hit the World Trade Center. You got to, you know." At that time, I was just pulling into where I was getting my car looked at, and of course, I walked inside, and there it was on a screen. And I still remember Katie Couric. I think she's history now, not hit from Earth, but from TV. And she was on there. You could see a big, gigantic plane that hit the World Trade Center. Now up at the high-rise flyers, and that high-rise flyer, even before the second plane hit, even before things got real bad, the moment that plane hit that North Tower, that was miles and miles and miles ahead of anything the New York Fire Department could have done, or anybody else that I know of. It was just a cataclysmic event that wasn't going to get captured or caught up to. And so, of course, I tore out of that parking lot, got home real quick, changed out of my shorts and moccasins into a quick work duty uniform. I really can't recall the exact mental series of thoughts that I had. I don't know what I was doing, but I grabbed a pile of money off my nightstand and got in my car and started heading out to the city as fast as I could go. I couldn't make 100. I was trying. The roads were empty mysteriously that day. I don't know if anybody else was traveling. Who was in the fire service on 9/11/01? All right. I didn't even realize there was stuff happening all over the country. There was other cities evacuating high-rise buildings and things like that, which of course we didn't know. We would just concentrate on what we were doing. And I got down there and it was a long day. But I'm not here to talk about me. I'm here to talk about my friend Jay Jonas. Who knows who Jay Jonas is? All right, just a few hands up. Jay Jonas was a well-respected, well-known captain in the FDNY on 9/11. He was a captain of Ladder Company 6, 100-foot aerial with a tiller in Chinatown. I was a battalion chief at the time, and as I said, I was already home. But Jay was working, and the story was one of his young firefighters came running into the office and said, "Hey, Cap, plane just hit the World Trade Center." Apparently, they were able to see it from where they were. If you're downtown Manhattan, my goodness, you can see the World Trade Center from out on the Great South Bay of Long Island. I remember 50, 60 years ago when I was out there on my old man's boat, we was able to see the World Trade Center. Over all of Long Island, 30 miles away, you could see the World Trade Center. And so Jay jumped on the rig with his boys and started heading down there. Of course, they got dispatched right away. The chief that was there, the chief that was out at a gas leak, they witnessed it as well. Pfeiffer, he took command right away of that incident and transmitted multiple alarms for a staging area and all sorts of other assignments. And Jay and his boys went in. 6 truck. I believe they were on the second alarm. It's quite a story, actually. So they got there. There are some pictures, there are some videos, if you've ever watched any of that stuff, in the lobby of the North Tower. There was a lot of confusion there. I'm not used to confusion, certainly not at fires. I mean, there is a lot of confusion at fires, but not by people wearing helmets, if you know what I mean. We're usually pretty organized. And it actually was pretty organized, but there was a lot of unknowns that day. And I remember talking to Jay long after 9/11 about what happened. And he had some conversations with some people there. Jerry Nevins was one of them. Jerry was killed that day. He was a firefighter in Rescue 1. Him and Jerry knew each other. He had been at Jerry's wedding. And they both looked at each other and said, "Be careful today. We may not get out of here." There was a feeling to some degree among some of the firefighters there about the seriousness of what was going on. And make a long story short, Jay eventually was dispatched up into the building to get done what he could get done. There really weren't specific assignments being given out at the time because most of what happened up there was unknown. And they went up. So Jay Jonas went up with his crew of 5. FDNY ladder trucks have 6 people on them, the officer and 5 firefighters. That seems extreme to lots of people. My son down there in Goose Creek's got 3 people, his driver and himself in the front seat and 1 guy in the back. And I just haven't figured out what they can do with 3 people, you know, after riding around with 5 or 6. But Jay went up into the building with his 6 people. Some people say, "Do you really need 6?" I said, "No, we don't need 6 until there's a fire, and then we need 10, you know." But they went up and they were working and evacuating people. There were a lot of people injured and some people trapped to some degree by damage from the planes. there were a lot of people burned. There were a lot of people burned on the floors below where the planes hit because of the fuel tanks from the jets, obviously let loose during the crash. And a lot of that fuel went down into the building through elevator shafts and other channels, and some of it ignited. You've all heard the famous phrase from Patty Brown. They gave Patty Brown the order. You're ordered to leave the building. He said, "I'm refusing that order. I'm refusing that order. I'm not leaving these people here. I got a dozen injured people here that I'm staying with." And Patty and all his men died that day, along with all those victims. So it was pretty dramatic stuff going on, but eventually it slowed down. Eventually Jay Jonas realized that they weren't seeing any more people coming down. They didn't see any more civilians needing assistance or guidance or physically to be carried. So he said, let's start to head out of here. At the same time, the South Tower collapsed, which they didn't know about because our radios were just terribly inefficient, and they've always been. I had over 20 years on a job on 9/11, and I already knew that the radios didn't work real well down in subway systems or in sub-basements or in high-rise buildings. So there were a lot of messages that were lost in the source there. The South Tower did collapse. Jay Jonas did notice it and note it, that something had happened, and he went to the edge of the building that he was in. He left the stairway, went to the edge of the building, looked out a window. He couldn't see anything. It was just gray. It was just gray dust. He said, let's go. Let's get out of here. We don't see any more civilians needing help. Let's start to move out here. So his men started to dump all their stuff. They started to dump their SCBAs and life-saving ropes and whatever else they had. He said, "What are you doing? We're not going to need this stuff, Cap. Let's get out of here quick." He said, "Pick it all up. Pick it all up. You never know what could happen." Jay Jonas said on 9/11, you never know what could happen. They all picked up that stuff. They weren't real happy with their captain. They picked up all their heavy equipment and started down the stairs. And they were moving pretty good. And they ran into who? Who knows her name? Josephine. That's it. They ran into Josephine, one of the most famous personalities of 9/11. She was a 60-something-year-old woman who wasn't in terrific physical condition, and she was trying to make it down on her own, a couple of steps at a time. 1, 2, and they ran into her. I mean, you can't run past her and say, "Follow us, lady," So they sort of gathered around her and said, "Oh, we'll take care of you. We'll take care of you." She said, "Oh, my knees, my legs. I'm going to go slow. You guys go ahead." They said, "No, we're with you, ma'am," and they proceeded to escort her down the stairs. Now they weren't very far up in the building. I think Jay was on the 17th floor or something like that. And the details don't matter. I say that to my wife all the time. The details don't matter, but they started moving down the stairs. And at one point she said, "I can't make it any further." She just collapsed, sat down on the steps crying, "I can't move. I'm in too much pain." So Jay said, "Well, let me run out of the stairway onto whatever floor it is we're on, see if I can find a chair." Probably a lot of us have done this at different types of accidents and situations. Bring a regular chair out of an office or out of a kitchen or out of a dining room table. You plop an injured person at, you can pick them up, and two guys could practically run with a victim if you don't have access to a Stokes or a litter. And that's what they did. Jay went to get the chair, and he couldn't find a chair. Turns out it was a machinery room. Couldn't find a chair. And while he was in there, boom, 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 he started to feel the vibration of the building. And he said he just knew. He just knew it was the building coming down. So he said, "I turned, and I realized I had to get back to my guys." He said, "I knew we were going to die." He said, "I knew it was over, but I wanted them to find us all together. I wanted to be with them." He said, "I ran as fast as I could." He said, "I burst into the stairway right when the collapse." Is everybody seeing the collapse right now? You see those videos of those buildings coming down? Right when the collapse got to where they were is when Jay got into the stairway. And he said it was just overwhelming. It was what it sounds like. It was a gigantic physical collapse of the building. When it was over, amazingly, they were all alive. Jay was alive, all his men were alive, and actually 11 people survived the North Tower. Another fire officer, a Port Authority police officer, and after they sort of accounted for themselves, they weren't all right next to each other. The stairways had broken up, so some of them had fallen below, but they gathered themselves and regrouped, and Jay, being the guy that he was, Jay was a great leader and a great boss. He started organizing everything. He said, "Okay, guys, now it wasn't like they were standing around in the atmosphere that we have in this room. It was smoky and it was dusty, and their lungs and mouths were just full of it's like putting a handful of flour or sand in your mouth. It was disgusting. They were either puking it up or spitting it up, and they're having a hard time breathing. But they got themselves together. And Jay said, "All right, radios off. Everybody, turn your radios off." They look at him. "What do you mean turn?" He said, "Turn your radios off. We don't know how long we're going to be here. I'll keep my radio on. When my radio dies, we'll turn Billy's radio on. When Billy's radio dies, we'll turn Tommy's radio on." And he already had a plan for that. Same with the lights. Turn your lights off. We'll use one light right now and see if we can find a way out of here. If we need more, we'll turn them on. So he took charge of the incident right away, being a great boss and a great leader and a great firefighter that he was. And they started forcing doors with the tools that they wanted to leave. The tools that they wanted to abandon 20 minutes earlier now became vital instruments for them. And they were forcing doors which led to nowhere, or they couldn't get forced at all. The life-saving rope that they had with them ended up being used at some point during their own escape. They were eventually discovered. I must tell you, hours later, I was one of the people that somebody said, Deputy Chief Fellini said, "Salka, get a team and see if you can get in and get the Jonas." So I grabbed a couple of rescue guys that were out on the street, said, "Let's go." And I'm not embarrassed to say, but I'm sorry to say we didn't make much progress. It was just a 26-acre debris field, half of which was on fire. It was like 100 car fires. The smoke from one car fire is probably the most miserable stuff. Anybody disagree with me? Most miserable stuff you could ever breathe in. It was like 100 or 1,000 car fires. We couldn't even make it 100 yards into the debris, and we had to back out. We were using a life-saving rope, so we didn't get lost, and God knows what would have happened to us in that debris field. Eventually, a truck from Harlem, there were a lot of trucks there. There were a lot of people there. A lot of FDNY units were assigned. And eventually they found him. Jay told me hours later he was with his guys, still figuring out what to do. We actually did talk to him. I talked to him on the radio. If you look it up online, you can find those recordings. Some of them were captured. And he said at one point he saw a beam of sunlight coming down right in front of his face with all the dust particles in the beam of sunlight, And he said, "Where could that be coming from? We're on the 4th floor in a 102-story building. Where could that beam of light be coming from?" Well, obviously, he didn't realize that the building he was in had practically completely collapsed. And eventually, they were rescued. I think most of them left the scene that day after that harrowing experience of being stuck inside that building for 4 or 5 hours and exposed to tremendous debris and whatever other carcinogens or damaging ingredients were in that smoke. The fire never did get to them. He said they could hear fire near them, but the fire never did get to them. It's not funny, but it's sort of amusing. At one point, after I got down to the city, I went to my firehouse, I grabbed my gear, the companies were gone. My 2 Bronx companies, the engine and the truck from my battalion, were gone. Both of them were in downtown Manhattan, relocated to a firehouse whose companies were lost. And I grabbed my gear and went to the division, and I made sure I got a radio. I brought a radio down there, and boy, it was a great thing to have a radio. And at one point, I heard his voice, and I was with another friend of mine, another battalion chief. I said, "That sounded like Jay Jonas." I said, "Battalion 1-8 to Ladder 6, Jay, is that you?" Now, Battalion 1-8 and Ladder 6, not until the end of the world happens could they ever be at the same fire, right? And there we were. And he answered me, "Ladder 6, John, is that you?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Where you at? We're trying to come and get you." He said, "We're in the North Tower. We're in a Stairway B in the North Tower." And he's the kind of guy that remember that. Me, I'm not sure if I remembered I was in the B Tower, but he was in the B stairway. I said, "We're trying to get to you." Now, he's still inside the building, and as damaged as the building was, and as in the dire condition that he was experiencing, as bad as it was, he didn't realize what the whole scene looked like outside. He didn't realize that the towers had collapsed. And so I said to him, "Well, we're trying to get to you." Now, I see outside an apparatus, a fire apparatus, a pumper, completely crushed by debris, and the back of it sort of turned up a little bit. So I'm looking at the hose bed. The back step and the hose bed sort of pointing up. You can see the folds of the hose, and I can see the number. And I don't recall what it was. But I told him, "I'm looking at engine, I'll make it up, 235. I'm looking at engine 235. Do you remember it was 235 in front of the building that you were in? I'm trying to get an idea where you are in this pile of debris, He said, John, he said, just go through the glass doors, make a left. The second door on the right is the B stairway. We're on the 4th floor. I said, oh, it was sort of funny, but it wasn't. Make a long story short, Jay and the boys got out. They got out, so did Josephine. There was even a couple other incidents that happened, not incidents, but events that happened. At one point, Jay's senior men, he had 5 firefighters with him. At one point, the senior guy said, hey, Cap, why don't you take the 2 bops out? Take the 2 Johnnies, you and the 2 young men. Once you guys get out of here, me and Tommy will take Josephine. We'll carry her out. We'll meet you at the rig. He said, no good. No good. What is firefighting? What kind of sport is it? It's a team sport. He said, nope, we're not separating. We're staying together. And they did stay together, and it's a good thing they did. Because when that building finally fell down, whoever was going ahead and leaving probably would have been outside when it happened, and it probably would have been to their own demise. But it's not a great story. It's an interesting story about survival on a terrible day, on the worst day the FDNY's really ever had. And we've had a couple of bad ones. Jay eventually got promoted. Very shortly after 9/11, they had to make a lot of promotions. We lost a lot of people. We lost 343 people. Oh, I don't have the numbers, and the numbers don't matter again. 50 captains, 20 battalion chiefs, 170 firefighters, lieutenants, just scores in every rank were lost. And I had to replace them right away because life goes on, and the fire department is in business the next day. And they did. Jay got promoted. Jay was a captain. He made battalion chief. And life went on. We had the rescue and recovery went on for months and months and months. I was there for a good part of that with lots of other people. And we never found anybody. I really did think we were going to. Early on, I thought, we're going to find guys. We're going to find guys here. And we did. We just didn't find anybody alive. So Jay made battalion chief. And about, 10 years later, the phone rings in his office. Hey, Chief, it's Billy Thompson at 6th Truck. Hey, what's up, Billy? What's going on? He said, we need your help. We just got a phone call. He said, from who? From Josephine's sister. Oh, what happened? Josephine passed away. She passed away. And she has nothing. She has no money, and her sister has no money either. She's calling up to see if we can maybe donate some money, help bury Josephine with a decent burial, decent funeral. Jay said, let me work on that. Let me see what I can get done. Now, Jay tells me, quite coincidentally and conveniently, about 9 months earlier, he and Josephine had both appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show. And he said, you know what, I'm going to make a call right there. Maybe maybe one of the Hollywood crew will come through and help us, And he said he made a couple of phone calls there. He spoke to a couple of people, but he never did speak to Oprah Winfrey, and nobody ever really called him back, and that was the end of that. No surprises to me. And he moved on. And word spread pretty quickly that this was happening. Suddenly, Jay got a phone call, and he got a phone call from the priest, the pastor of a Catholic church in downtown Manhattan, saying, I understand you're looking for a venue. I understand you're looking for a church to have a Catholic funeral. He said, yeah. He said, well, she wasn't a parishioner here, but I'd be happy to do that. You can hold her funeral, Josephine's funeral, at my church. He said, wonderful. And he took it. One thing done. Well, what do you need before a funeral? You need a funeral parlor, right? You need all sorts of other technical stuff's got to happen. He gets another phone call from a guy who says, hi, this is, making the names up. This is Bill Jones. I own a funeral parlor down here in downtown Manhattan. And he said, I've always loved and respected firemen. He said, 40 years ago, there was a collapse in my building. When I was a young man, I had a wife and a baby. And my wife and child were trapped in the building. I got out. He said, I stood outside in the rain for 15 hours watching the firemen dig through that building. And they rescued my wife, and my infant child did not survive. But he said, I always had tremendous respect for the fire service after that. I just could never say anything bad about a fireman after sitting there for 12 hours watching how hard those men worked. He said, I'll provide a funeral and a casket and a headstone and a gravesite for Josephine in honor of you guys. And Jay said, Fantastic. Now we had a couple of things wrapped up. Next phone call he gets is from the Archbishop of New York, the Cardinal. Cardinal's office calls and says the Cardinal wants to say the Mass. And of course, Battalion Chief Jay Jonas was in no position to decline that one. And so it went. And so it went. And guess who carried Josephine again? 6 Truck. The boys from 6 Truck. Jay Jonas, Chief Jay Jonas, and his 5 firemen, all of who were still on the job, carried Josephine that day. They carried her casket. It was a rainy day, he said. A bunch of companies from nearby came. Local downtown Manhattan companies all came with their rigs. They all wore their uniforms, or some of them just had their coats and helmets on. He said there was a big crowd there for Josephine. And Jay and his men carried Josephine up into the church, into the, oh gosh, what do they call it? The doors from the outside in, and then there's another set of doors before you actually go into the church. If you're Catholic, you know what I'm talking about. Even though I don't know what I'm talking about. And that's where they stopped for a moment. And Jay said while they were standing there with the casket, he felt like somebody was looking at him. And he looked, and it was Rudy Giuliani. He came to the funeral too. Josephine got the funeral of a queen. There were hundreds of people there. There were fire trucks there. There were guys in uniform carrying her casket. And the Cardinal of the Archdiocese of New York said the Mass. And it was quite amazing. I wrote an article for Firehouse Magazine sometime after that called Carrying Josephine. And it was that story I just told you. No pictures, nothing else, just words. But it was that whole story put into a nutshell. I had the cover of the magazine and that page of the article mounted on a frame, and I gave it to my friend Jay Jonas. He's got it hanging up in his house. And what's the lesson? You know, we're taught all the time, from when we're in school till when we have kids, we're taught all the time about all the things in life that happen to us. Most of the time there's a lesson. Sometimes it's pleasant, sometimes it's not pleasant. Anybody here who's a parent knows you've had probably experiences with your kids. I have 5 children. I told you I have 8 grandchildren, but I have 5 children. Only one of them got to wear handcuffs one night somewhere. I still don't know too much about it, but he's a major in the Marine Corps now, so everything's solved. You know, some experiences are good, some experiences are bad. Some experiences are easy. Anybody have a real easy one? I've had a couple of real easy experiences. Nope, you're grounded, done. Give me the keys to the car, get lost. And that was the end of that story, and didn't bother me at all. And some are painful. And this story about Jay Jonas and Josephine and what they did for this one person. We're talking thousands of people died that day. And this story is about one. It's really about 7. It's about the 6 rescuers and the 1 victim, and how they pulled that off. So where else would this happen? Where else would a group of people give a tremendous second effort like the men from 6 Truck did, other than the fire service? Where would it happen other than the fire service? And I'm excluding, obviously, the military, right? First responders in general, but I love blowing the horn of the fire service. God knows, growing up, I wanted to be a cop. I went to criminal justice college. Thank God I took the FDNY test. I don't know, I'd be doing 10 to 20 somewhere. I would have been a great cop, but I would have been in big trouble, you know. But back to the question, where else can this happen? And I don't think anywhere. I think that we, selectively, the same group of people I talked about when I first started talking, I think we in particular, and I'm not putting us above police officers or EMS. I think we are a special breed of people, and you really got to remember that. You really have to remember that. I mean, you know, when you're sitting around a firehouse, whether you're a career firefighter working shifts, whether you're a volunteer and you're carrying that pager around all day long, and I'm both. And you know, sometimes people say you're almost 70 years old. What are you doing? What are you doing getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning, going to the firehouse, you know, on a winter night or a summer night, or jumping out of the swimming pool in the backyard, running to the firehouse for a call for an odor of something, not even, you know, you hear structural fire, everybody goes. 90-year-old guys go when it's a structural fire, right? But I try to make every call because I don't think it's only happening in New York State. I think it's happening everywhere that fire departments are having a hard time keeping the seats full. So I keep on doing it. And I think firefighters are special. Having been both a volunteer for almost 50 years now, 50 years this year, and a career firefighter for 33 in the FDNY and a couple more down in Florida. I went to Florida. I was a career firefighter in Titusville, Florida, but I left because it was just too hot down there. But what do you know about heat, right? You know? So the lesson for today, the lesson not really for today, today just happens to be the day we're talking about it. The lesson for 9/11 is even on your darkest day, and I can attest to this, even on our darkest day, we shined the brightest. I saw men doing stuff that day that brings me to tears right now. I heard men say stuff I never thought they could say. I saw guys do stuff that I never thought they could do. There's a real famous picture of a firefighter. All the dust and debris are in the street already. He's in his full gear. He's got his flashlight. He's an officer. You only see his back, and he's walking away from the camera. And it's a guy that was telling the guys that took the picture, let's go. I'm hearing Maydays. Let's go. But they told us we should evacuate and head north. He said, I'm not leaving these guys. And he walked in, and he was never seen again. He made a conscious decision, not under duress. He made a conscious decision, I'm going in. You know, and that was done a number of times on 9/11, and it's done a number of times everywhere else, too. It doesn't just happen in big cities. It didn't just happen on 9/11. It doesn't just happen at fires. Firefighters operating all around the country take action and make decisions like that all the time. And my message for this morning, I knew I was going to do that. It's this afternoon, I'm sorry, is just remember that. Remember that we are the luckiest people on the face of the earth already living here in America, and the rest of the world knows that. And then on top of that, we're the luckiest people in America to be firefighters. And you're part of that special group, and you got to live up to it and remember it every day and act accordingly and speak accordingly. That's all I have. Remember and honor the men lost on September 11th. Thank you.
Chief, I can't believe you made fun of my box up here. I think he's a little bit disappointed he doesn't need it. Thank you, Chief. What a great speech. I'm sure all of you are like me. It's his expertise, his experiences. It really reminds us that the fire service matters. The things we do every day, sometimes we get rooted into it. We're just trying to drive to the next thing, whatever that is. But everything that we do has an impact, and Chief Salka, he touched on a lot of that. I wrote down a couple of things, the powerful experiences, lessons learned, his perspectives, right? We can compare to it, maybe not to a 9/11 type scale, but we can compare to those things. So, Chief Salka, thank you again for being here today. Thank you for sharing your message with us. We've got some friends in the room. I'm sure they're going to be excited that I'm about to ask them to stand up, but we've got several folks with us from the North Carolina State Firefighters Association, so I would love for their executive committee and staff to please stand if you are here. I think I saw them over here to the right somewhere. Oh, spread out on the left, I'm sorry. Please give them a round of applause. These men and women are fantastic. We met with them earlier this year in January, collaborated, talked about our good and bad in South Carolina, heard a lot of the things they were doing in North Carolina. So we always go to their conference, and they always come to ours. So we're very proud of the relationship. Thank you all for being here today. Before we close out, we're going to do just a quick 9/11 remembrance video. Some of you who have been in the fire service a little while probably participated in this event that you're going to see. Lots of fire departments across the state worked very hard for several weeks to collect money and to help out our brothers and sisters at the FDNY. So please direct your attention to the screens.
Just in, you were looking at obviously a very disturbing live shot there. That is the World Trade Center.
Apparently a plane has crashed into the World Trade Center in New York.
A.m. 5 hijackers deliberately crashed American Airlines Flight 11 into the World Trade Center's North Tower.
And we all sat in our offices and watched that tragic day unfold. The first plane hits the tower. You know, I immediately started thinking, God, those firefighters got to hump all those stairs and go fight that massive amount of fire. And then you have the second plane hits. And then you have some time, I can't remember the exact time frames. And then the first one collapsed. And that's my immediate thought then was, oh my God, all those people and all those firefighters. And I thought all those people, but not realizing that FDNY basically got all those people out of those buildings. It was truly just firefighters and some stragglers. And from the association standpoint, we immediately started phone calls around the state amongst the executive committee and the executive director at the time. And it escalated that day, you know, and we had the fear for hours and hours that, are we next? I'm thinking Buford, we got Marine Corps Air Station, we got Parris Island, are they going to target us? What's next? And then you have the Pentagon, and then Shanksville. So you had that fear the rest of the day, but I think it was the end of that first day we started talking as executive committee of what are we going to do, you know? And I think it transitioned into the second day, so I can't remember, I wish I could take credit for it, but I can't remember somebody said, how about we collect money for those guys that we were assuming most were gone.
Right.
From the collapse of first tower and the second tower, we were assuming they were gone. Unfortunately, our assumptions were right. And somebody in our group of great minds on that executive committee said, let's collect money for the dependents of those firefighters. So we developed a program of Fill the Boot over the course of 2 weekends.
That's right.
Little South Carolina.
Yep.
Over the course of 2 weekends, collected
in a boot,
standing on street corners.
Yes.
Collected $1 million.
Yep.
If you recall, we wrote 347 checks.
Yeah.
And everybody says 343. Well, it was 343 firefighters. There was 4 medics with FDNY, and we included them. And so we wrote, after we struggled a little bit to get the beneficiary information, we wrote 347 individual checks. I'll go on to tell you, years later, I found out through our good friends with FDNY, Richie Fanning and John Salka, is that the checks we delivered were some of the first checks.
Was it really?
The family members received.
Was it really?
Yeah, and when you really divide 347 into $1 million, it's not a lot of money, but it was a little something. When we went to whatever firehouse it was the firehouse that they were still running incident command for 9/11, and that was Chief Hayden.
Yep.
I think he was Assistant Chief Hayden at the time, who ended up becoming the fire chief of FDNY. But he was the incident commander at the time, and he took us to the boards, and he showed us all the different things, because they were still digging in the rubble on December 7th.
You could tell in his face, the composure, absolutely. Calm, gracious to little old us, you know, from nowhere. He's managing and handling this internationally being watched across the globe incident. He's in the hot seat with this. He took his time that day.
Yes.
Came downstairs, explained to us at command board, greeted us, shook our hand, and that grace, but at the same time, the pressure you could see inside of him has never left me.
Yeah. Yeah, super impressed with him. And he gave us a young lieutenant.
Yep.
And that young lieutenant put his bunker jacket on, which made him glow like a billboard. And he walked us down to the site.
Yep.
And we got to go, and I just didn't imagine this going there, but we got to go to family and dignitary platform.
We had to walk down to the river and go behind what was, I think, like a banker's trust building or something like that, come back up through an area that was then an exclusion zone where nobody else could go, and walk down that corridor through all of those tributes, all those families.
The daughters and the sons and the wives and the grandmothers and the grandfathers, and just, that's, first of all, it was hollow ground. You could feel it as you got close.
Yes.
And we get up in the platform, and I'm taking you to this one point.
Absolutely.
We're up there.
I know where you're going.
And we're all standing there, and we're watching, and they're digging. They're still digging. They're starting to bring in heavy equipment at that point, but they're still digging for remains. And I've about had enough. And a lady approaches the lieutenant with a bouquet of flowers. And she says, my son was on engine 322, and today's his birthday. Will you put the flowers on the rubble? And that's when I looked at you guys and said, I'm out, I'm done. I'll meet you outside, I'm done. And as you guys finished up with your respects and prayers, and you walked out, the lieutenant came with us. And he walked us back through that corridor, and when he got to an opening, he looked at us and said, you guys good?
Yeah.
And we were like, yeah, we got this. And he walked in and placed it on the rubble. I think I had tears in my eyes.
Oh, I know I did.
The next several hours of that, to just know that good men and women were lost in that terrorist attack. And the families, you know, you watch that on TV, and if you think about it, you think about the firefighters, but you don't go as deep as family.
Yep.
Children, mothers, fathers, grandparents, and walking that corridor with all those pictures and notes, and you know, because there was, immediately after 9/11, and for quite some time, fire service was elevated.
Yeah.
And I'm unfortunately, with today's climate, I think we've lost some of that, and I hope it doesn't take a tragedy like 9/11 to bring us back to that point of respect and honor, because you're right. And Manhattan's made up of all kinds of people.
Yep.
And they all were very respectful because they identified the uniform as a firefighter.
Thank you, Chief Klein, Chief Palmer, for taking the time to document those efforts from years ago, so we have them today and years to come to show that this association will step up. No matter where the need is, our brothers and sisters all throughout the United States, we're there to support them. So again, thank you all. Over the next several days, I encourage you to take time and take the opportunity that this conference offers you. Attend training sessions, visit the exhibit hall, reconnect with old friends, and make new connections. Most of all, enjoy the fellowship that makes South Carolina Fire Service so special. Please join us across the hall as we open the exhibit hall at 4 p.m. You're going to get out a few minutes early, so please take some time, look at the silent auction, put your name down on a few things there. At this time, the 2026 South Carolina Fire Rescue Conference will be in recess until tomorrow morning. We look forward to seeing everyone back here tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. for Colonel Tom Gordon's presentation. Colonel Gordon, his leadership, experience, and message will no doubt leave all of us inspired and challenged as leaders in public service. Again, please join us across the hall shortly. Have a safe and enjoyable evening.